Is Seth Rollins faking his injury? Paul Heyman drops a bombshell truth. The WWE Universe is buzzing, and Paul Heyman just poured gasoline on the fire. In this explosive exposé, we dive deep into the rumors swirling around Seth Rollins' knee injury, and the jaw-dropping revelation Heyman just made that could change everything. What if I told you the biggest injury in WWE this year wasn't just a tragedy, it was a masterclass in deception? What if I told you that the limp, the stretcher, the hospital visits, the tears from Becky Lynch, and the sympathetic cheers from fans across the globe were nothing but a well-executed performance? Not by accident. Not because of malice. But by design. This isn't just a theory. This is an investigation. And the man lighting the fuse is Paul Heyman. In the high-stakes world of professional wrestling, reality and illusion often blur. What's real and what's storyline? That's a question every fan wrestles with. But this time? It's not a storyline. It's a scandal. And it's about to shake the very foundation of WWE. The man at the center of it all is none other than Seth freaking Rollins. The visionary. The architect. The once proud Shield brother turned world champion. A man whose charisma, grit, and unmatched work ethic earned him the respect of millions, even as he courted controversy time and again. But now, his very legacy may be in question. Because as of today, Rollins isn't just sidelined with a supposed fractured knee. He's at the heart of a growing firestorm that threatens to expose one of the most audacious betrayals in wrestling history. And the man who lit the match is none other than Paul Heyman, a man who has made a career out of manipulating narratives, turning monsters into messiahs, and crafting some of the greatest mind games in WWE history. He's not some random backstage producer. He's not a bitter veteran looking for attention. He's the wise man. The mastermind of the bloodline. The former advocate of Brock Lesnar, and now, the self-proclaimed truth-teller in a world built on kayfabe. But why now? Why would Heyman, someone notoriously calculated with his words, suddenly break his silence? Why would he imply, in no uncertain terms, that Seth Rollins is faking his injury? And what does he gain from throwing WWE's top babyface under the bus? To understand that, we need to go back, not just to the injury itself, but to the patterns, the politics, and the power games that have shaped the last decade of WWE. This isn't just about a knee. This is about trust. This is about credibility. This is about the war for control, not just of titles, but of truth itself. Because if Paul Heyman is right, then the WWE Universe has been lied to. And if he's wrong? Then he's launched a smear campaign of historic proportions. Either way, something dark is unfolding behind the curtain. And it all began on a night no one will forget. The lights were blinding. The energy was electric. Seth Rollins was in the fight of his life, defending his spot at SummerSlam 2025, standing tall as one of the last true faces of Raw, carrying the company on his injured back, or so we thought. Mid-match, Rollins collapsed. He clutched his leg, writhing in pain. The referee waved in the medics. Commentary went silent. Becky Lynch rushed from the back. A stretcher rolled out, the crowd frozen in stunned silence. It was the moment everything changed. Or maybe, the moment everything was set into motion. Because something didn't add up. No backstage footage ever confirmed the exact diagnosis. No follow-up reports showed an MRI. No photos of surgery. Just a few cryptic posts. A hospital hallway. A wheelchair here. A brace there. But no cast. No crutches. And no definitive answers. Then came the whispers. Wrestlers quietly talking in the locker room. Fans noticing inconsistencies. And then, Paul Heyman. In a shocking sit-down interview released online just 2 days ago, Heyman didn't accuse Rollins directly, but he didn't have to. The tone said it all. With cold precision, he stared into the lens and said, "In my life, I've seen real pain. I've seen real suffering. And I've seen performances so good, they made you forget what was real to begin with. Seth Rollins is a master of performance. Maybe the greatest of our generation. But if you think that guarantees honesty, you've already been worked. The internet exploded. Was this a promo? A shoot? A bitter retaliation for Rollins' past sins? Or was it something else, a coded warning to fans and insiders alike? Because if Heyman is to be believed, then Rollins isn't injured. He's staging an injury to escape heat, protect the MITB briefcase, or worse, manipulate creative control from the shadows while sitting safely on the sidelines. A coward's play, disguised as a champion's sacrifice. But here's the twist, not everyone disagrees with Heyman. In fact, backstage sources have started coming forward. Anonymous voices from within WWE production, medical, and even talent relations have hinted at the same unsettling theory, that Seth Rollins might be exaggerating, or entirely fabricating, the extent of his injury. One source put it bluntly. It wouldn't be the first time someone used an injury to reshape their story. But this? This feels deeper. This feels strategic. Strategic. That word keeps coming up. Because what if this injury wasn't just about self-preservation? What if it was about revenge? Think about it, Seth Rollins was on top. But Paul Heyman had just returned to Raw, pulling strings, recruiting new talent, realigning power structures. Roman Reigns was waiting in the wings. The bloodline was split but far from defeated. And Rollins? He was a threat. Until he wasn't, until he was on the floor. Holding his knee. Carried out in tears. It was too perfect. Too well-timed. Too controlled. The fans cried. Becky posted an emotional tribute. WWE released a heartfelt statement. The world grieved a fallen hero. And Paul Heyman? He waited. He watched. And then, he spoke. Not to console. Not to defend. But to expose. Why? That's the question we're going to unpack in this exposé. We'll dive into everything, the match, the hospital visit, the leaked footage, the medical records, or lack thereof. We'll examine Becky Lynch's eerie silence. Roman Reigns' suspicious visit. And we'll analyze the Money in the Bank timeline like a forensic puzzle. Because make no mistake, this isn't just wrestling anymore. This is a war for the truth. And in WWE, truth is the rarest title of all. So if you've ever believed in Seth Rollins, if you've ever stood and chanted "burn it down" with your whole chest, then prepare yourself. Because by the end of this video, you may never see him the same way again. This is the story of a man who built his kingdom on fire. And may have just burned it down to save himself. Stay with us. It was supposed to be just another main event. Another chapter in the long-running saga of Seth Rollins, a warrior, a workhorse, the heartbeat of Monday Night Raw. The arena was packed. The fans were roaring. And Rollins was doing what he does best, putting on a performance that blurred the line between man and myth. But no one knew that night would end with sirens. No one expected the tribal chief's shadow to stretch so far across the ring, even in his absence. And certainly, no one could have predicted that by midnight, the internet would erupt with headlines screaming, "Seth Rollins injured, SummerSlam status in jeopardy." Let's go back to the exact moment it all fell apart. Monday Night Raw. July 7, 2025. Seth Rollins vs. Bronson Reed in a non-title match, but with major implications. Paul Heyman was seen pacing ringside earlier that night. The Bloodline's recent implosion had left the entire WWE universe tense. Every match, every promo, every segment felt like it could ignite something bigger. Rollins walked down the ramp wearing a golden robe, his signature strut in full effect, the crowd singing his theme like a choir of loyalty. His opponent, Bronson Reed, a 330-pound powerhouse who'd been quietly rising up the ranks with one mission: destroy anyone aligned with Paul Heyman's enemies. The bell rang. The match was fast. Brutal. Full of tension. Rollins took a stiff lariat early. Then a crushing splash in the corner. Fans held their breath. But then, a spark of hope. Rollins countered a suplex, landed a high knee, bounced off the ropes. And then, it happened. As Rollins charged toward Reed for what looked like a springboard knee, he collapsed mid-step. Instant. Violent. Terrifying. He clutched his knee with both hands, his face twisted in agony. The match was stopped immediately. Reed, looking confused, backed off. The referee threw up the dreaded X sign. Trainers rushed in. Becky Lynch, who was not even scheduled to appear that night, sprinted down the ramp, panic etched across her face. The commentary team, Corey Graves, Michael Cole, and Wade Barrett, fell silent. Then, carefully. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are being told this is not part of the show." A stretcher was rolled out. Rollins was helped onto it, tears visibly streaming down his face. Fans in the front row were crying. Cell phones were filming everything. Backstage, the locker room was reportedly shaken. Some said Roman Reigns left the building early. Others claimed Heyman was smirking quietly in a corner. But nothing was more unsettling than the look on Rollins' face as he was wheeled up the ramp. It wasn't just pain. It was resignation. Like a man who knew the next chapter was no longer his to write. By midnight, the official WWE social media accounts posted a statement. Seth Rollins sustained a severe knee injury tonight during his match on Monday Night Raw. He is being transported to a medical facility for evaluation. More updates to come. But that's when the questions began. Because unlike other injury announcements in WWE's past, think of Randy Orton's back, Big E's neck, or even Finn Balor's shoulder, there was no immediate medical follow-up. No specific diagnosis, no X-ray, no press release from the hospital. Just silence. The next morning, a blurry photo emerged on Twitter of Rollins in what appeared to be a hospital corridor. He was sitting in a wheelchair. Smiling faintly. Holding Becky's hand. Some fans saw hope. Others saw something else. One tweet went viral. "Why does this look staged? No cast. No no brace. Just a chair and a camera." That was the beginning. Of the doubt. Of the scrutiny. Of the theory that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't what it seemed. But let's pause. Because what we saw that night. The fall, the pain, the emotion, was real. At least, it felt real. And that's the brilliance of Seth Rollins, isn't it? He's always walked the razor's edge between reality and performance. From his betrayal of the Shield to his rise through the Authority, from his knee injury in 2015 to his miraculous return in 2016. Rollins has always made fans ask one question: is this real? He once tore his MCL, ACL, and meniscus in a single move, and came back months ahead of schedule, claiming it was all thanks to discipline and grit. But this time, something's different. Let's break it down. Frame by frame. We've obtained slow-motion fan footage from the night of the injury. Zoomed in, stabilized, and analyzed by a former physical therapist who specializes in sports trauma. The verdict? It doesn't look like a natural tear or sprain. The way his leg moved, or didn't move, suggests no actual joint failure. That same source pointed out something else. If that was a real ligament rupture, he wouldn't have been able to put any weight on the leg in those first few seconds. But he did. Watch closely, he stands for a moment before going down. That's suspicious. But wait. That's not all. There's the trainer's reaction. In past medical emergencies, when someone like Big E or Sami Zayn gets hurt, the urgency is immediate. Medics move fast. You see them communicating in code. Wrestlers are often swarmed in seconds. But during Rollins' injury? There was a strange calm. No one rushed. The referee didn't scream. The medics came in, but didn't strap him down. They let him sit up, talk, even wave to the crowd. A WWE insider told us. It felt more like a curtain call than a crisis. And then, there's Paul Heyman. Seen watching from the gorilla position, arms crossed, unmoved. In leaked backstage footage that surfaced the next morning, Heyman walks past the stretcher and says, barely audibly, "Sometimes, the best move is to disappear." Disappear? Or, distract? Because that injury didn't just take Rollins off the SummerSlam card. It cleared a path. For who? For Roman Reigns to make a triumphant return. For the Bloodline's next chapter to begin without interruption. For Heyman to realign the chessboard. And maybe, just maybe, for Rollins himself to retreat, retool, and reappear as something new, something more dangerous. Or maybe, he just needed a break. A break from carrying the weight of a company. A break from grueling media obligations, non-stop travel, and mounting pressure. What better way to get sympathy and space than an injury? And if that's the case, then the night of the injury wasn't the beginning of a tragedy. It was the opening scene of a masterpiece. Crafted. Scripted. Controlled. And Paul Heyman? He may have just torn the curtain wide open. In the next chapter, we dig even deeper into the medical mystery that continues to baffle fans and insiders alike. Why is there no surgery record? Why hasn't a single licensed WWE doctor gone on the record? And what do new photos from the hospital really show? Stay tuned. The truth may be hiding in plain sight. There's a rule in wrestling, a simple one. When someone's injured, the narrative stops, and the facts step in. But with Seth Rollins, the facts never came. Only fragments. Tweets. Blurred images. Whispers from anonymous sources. Inconsistencies too large to ignore. And now, a question that's turned into a full-blown obsession. Where's the medical proof? Injury announcements in WWE usually follow a distinct pattern, a playbook of transparency designed to keep fans informed and calm. There's the in-ring incident. Then a clear diagnosis from WWE's medical team. Next, confirmation from a hospital. A press release. Maybe even a short video statement from the wrestler. Closure. But this time? That playbook went out the window. Let's rewind to the morning after the injury. WWE's official statement said Rollins was being transported to a local medical facility for evaluation. No hospital was named. No injury specifics were given. Not even a vague timeline of recovery. Just silence. Fans waited for updates. Hours passed. Then days. And still, nothing. No interviews. No official footage. No scans. Not even a knee brace in public. Instead, WWE social media posted a photo of Rollins sitting in what looked like a private waiting room, dressed in a hoodie, head down, Becky Lynch by his side. The caption read, "Seth Rollins remains under observation. Please keep him in your thoughts." That was it. No stretcher shot. No doctor briefing. No follow-up report. Just a moment designed to look real, but feel off. The WWE universe started asking, where's the hospital footage? We did our own digging. There are 3 major medical centers near the arena where the July 7th Raw was held: Jefferson Regional Medical Center, Horizon Trauma Center, and St. Charles Ortho Hospital. We reached out to all 3. Their response? No patient admitted under the name Colby Lopez or Seth Rollins on July 7 or 8. Now, of course, it's possible WWE used an alias. It's common for high-profile talents to check in under fake names for privacy. But what if there was no check-in, because there was no injury? That's the theory Paul Heyman implied when he said, "Some wounds are cosmetic. Others are convenient. And some? Some are crafted like a storyline, because they are one." It's not just Heyman's words that raised eyebrows. It's what's missing. There was no follow-up medical analysis during Raw or SmackDown the following week. No backstage clips of Rollins being visited by doctors. No Zoom interview from a hospital bed, a common trope for injured stars. In fact, Rollins went dark on social media. Becky Lynch posted cryptic photos, black and white images of foggy roads, sunsets, silence. And then came the most damning development of all. The leaked footage. On July 10, just 3 days after the alleged injury, a fan posted a video taken outside a Los Angeles gym. It showed Seth Rollins. The footage spread like wildfire. In the clip, Rollins is seen exiting a black SUV and walking briskly into the facility. He's wearing track pants, headphones, and sunglasses. He looks healthy. Athletic. Entirely uninjured. Within hours, the WWE subreddit exploded. Threads titled "Rollins faking it" and "Heyman was right" climbed to the top of trending posts. Fans began analyzing his gait, his posture, even the speed of his walk. One user wrote, "My dad tore his ACL last year, couldn't walk unassisted for weeks. This video? This is a guy with 2 healthy knees." Another said, "This is bigger than kayfabe. This is fraud." The backlash forced WWE to respond, but their statement only deepened the suspicion. WWE does not comment on private health matters outside of our programming. That wasn't damage control. That was a dodge. Meanwhile, Rollins still hadn't confirmed any surgery, a massive red flag. Historically, when a top superstar undergoes surgery, WWE makes it part of the public story. Edge, John Cena, Triple H. Even Roman Reigns' leukemia battle was publicly documented with clarity and empathy. But with Rollins? No footage, no hospital, no doctor. So, we reached out to 2 orthopedic specialists, both with experience in sports medicine. They reviewed the footage of Rollins' collapse. Their verdict? There's no visible torsion of the joint. No clear indication of an ACL or MCL tear. It could be a meniscus issue, but even that's speculative. Based on what we saw, and his ability to walk days later, it's highly unlikely this was a significant ligament injury. Then we asked the harder question. Could the entire thing have been staged? Their answer? It's not impossible. Athletes sometimes simulate injuries to exit competition without raising red flags. The way Rollins went down, slow, controlled, not a sudden collapse, it's plausible. And that brings us to one final piece of this mystery. A photo posted, then quickly deleted, from Becky Lynch's Instagram story. It was up for less than 10 minutes. It showed Seth Rollins sitting at home, on the couch, laughing. No brace. No crutches. No elevation of the leg. A glass of wine in one hand, a remote in the other. A normal night. The caption? Resting, or plotting? She deleted it. But screenshots never lie. And now, the theories are everywhere. Some say Seth is taking time off to prepare for a character reinvention. Others say he's biding time, letting the bloodline storyline boil over before making his triumphant return. A few even believe this is part of a larger Paul Heyman ploy, to discredit Rollins, isolate him, and weaken his POS.